talk about today is not just adding years to your life, but quality within those years. And what we're going to study is found in Joel chapter 2, verses 25 and 26. I'm going to drop that in the chat real quick. So it is Joel 2, 25 and 26. I'm going to go ahead and read this here. Feel free to read along yourself. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten, the great locusts and the young locusts, and other locusts and the locusts that have swarmed, my great army that I sent you. You will have plenty to eat until you are full, and you will praise the name of the Lord your God, who works wonders for you, and never again will my people be shamed. I'm going to read that again because this is one of those onion verses in that there's so many layers to it, and I love it. So I will repay you, and some translations will say I will restore to you. I like the restore to you, but I'm rocking this version right now. So I'm just gonna put restore in here, or repay. I will restore to you and or repay you for the years the locusts have eaten, the great locusts and the young locusts, the other locusts and the locusts that have swarmed, my great army that I have sent among you. You will have plenty to eat until you are full, and you will praise the name of the Lord your God, who has worked wonders for you. Never again will my people be shamed. I, I, I love how this story and this parable, even though it's not meant to be a parable, but I love how this mirrors the effects that we've had on our bodies with health. Because much like in the time of Joel, if locusts were obesity, or if locusts were anorexia or bulimia, whatever our approach was that took us away from health, some can make the argument that it's robbed us of years. You know, I look at I've made this conversation with us earlier in that, you know, from age 15 to age 17 and a half, I made money. Like I made a lot of money for a teenager, and I literally wasted it all on fast food. Like to me, that is locusts robbing me. Like that is my locusts. And then I look at when I gained the weight back in that 3-year span of college, where I should have been doing college things, but I was so focused on eating. Again, years robbed. But once the weight came off, and I truly made this an act of worship, my goodness, the amount of restoration and, dare I say, repayment, as if God owes me anything. But that's how good God is. The amount of restoration that I've seen over the past 10 to 15 years has been ridiculous. And I know there's a lot of us who look at our lives and what we could have done differently. Because now, most of us are adults, even if we don't want to act like it. By the way, never grow up, it's a trap. But we look back sometimes in anger and regret and we go, where did the time go? As if we're just living to die. I think we forget a few things, especially when it comes to weight loss and to health. I won't ask, but actually, you know what? I will ask, but you don't have to participate. But let's just take the whole college concept. If you've gone to college, then you understand 4 years. If you're smart like me, you fit 4 years into 5. But the point is that you take a small amount of time in your life, and it's supposed to sustain you for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And no one really questions the collegiate model. Just spend these 4 years, and then for the next 40 to 60, your finances will be a lot better. But when it comes to weight loss, we tend to forget that it doesn't have to be a lifelong battle. We end up making it a lifelong battle, and that's unfortunate. But when you really break it down, it genuinely doesn't have to be. And so we're going to do a little bit of math here. Just in terms of, I know typically we wrap this up in a bow, but this is more of a workshop Bible study today. So if statistically a healthy weight loss is between 1 and 2.5 pounds a week, that means in a healthy manner, 4 to 10 pounds can be expected to be lost in a month, which means that over the course of a year, you can lose anywhere between 48 to 120 pounds in a given year. For most of us, between 48 and 120 pounds is great. That's how much we have to lose. Some of us, it's less than 48 pounds. That's even better. It's not even going to take you a year. But when you think about it logically, if you were to take that year and let's just say collegeize it, that means that over a 4-year span, you could have lost, let's do the math real quick, 48 times 4, I'll just say roughly under like 190, 190 to, and see, this is where math is hard. I should have done the math. That's my fault. But then 120 times 4 is 480. So roughly between 200 and 480 pounds in a 4-year span. That is way more than any of us have to lose. But if we took that same mentality in terms of college, we just knock it out and move on. So when it comes to our life, why do we allow it to drag on for so long? So the first thing I'd love for you to do is to write down 1 to 2.5 pounds a week is what it should take healthily to lose the weight. And then take how much weight you'd like to lose and divide it. Most of you will find that your weight loss will take literally less than a year. And if you just lose the weight, what else is possible? Get it done. Knock it out of the way. And the thing where I think a lot of us get stuck, not just in terms of whose advice should we follow, but I feel like a lot of us get stuck in the rut of where we've tried and failed so many times that we almost get to this apathetic point of, why even try? I'm destined to fail. But many of you have a lot of literature that I've wrote on this. And part of what I really implore people to do is to journal. And I'm not doing it for the sake of condemnation. But what I want people to see is the power of actually being present in what's occurring. Because what I found for a lot of us is we have perception bias. And what I mean by that is this: we feel we're doing a lot better than we are, or we feel like we're doing a lot worse than we are. And so what journaling does is it says unequivocally, no emotion to it, this is what I did. Does this support my goals? Yes or no? Well, if the answer is yes, then chances are good you're hitting your goals. If the answer is no, well then, A, you shouldn't feel that bad because you got exactly what you wanted. It may not be the goal you said you want, but if you're eating donuts every day, or if you're having pizza every day, what you're really saying is, I like the idea of weight loss. I just don't really want to do it right now. Which again, totally changes the spectrum, because you can't go, I've tried for so long and nothing's working. Well, no, you really haven't. You had one salad Wednesday and the rest of the week's been crazy. So you're not really trying. And that's okay. Again, this is not Jeremy throwing shade. This is Jeremy leveling the playing field of saying that, what if you actually tried the entire week? So the vision I want to cast for us here is legitimately twofold, maybe even threefold. We'll see where the Spirit leads. But one, weight loss in and of itself is quick. It is. You can debate me all you want, but wait till I finish this thought. What makes weight loss take so long is how much we kind of try to fight it by, for lack of a better term, trying to negotiate with science. I'll do anything, just don't take my 40 ounces of alcohol. True story, I've had that conversation. I'll do anything, just don't make me give up chicken wings. I'll do anything as long as I can have cake every day. Well, right. And there's nothing wrong with these things. But again, we're trying to do things on our terms. And sometimes to get what we want, we've got to play by the rules. There are certain things that science says not the best idea for you. Refined carbohydrates and sugar, not going to help you with weight loss. But so many of us get so emotional over the foods that we feel we're giving up forever because this has been such a strenuous journey for so many of us that we feel we're never going to eat these things again. Well, again, it's like college. You take this small, finite amount of time of concentrated effort, and then the rest of your life, it serves you. So, employment number one, do the math. Between 1 and 2.5 pounds a week is healthy, sustainable weight loss. How much weight do you want to lose? And divide it by the amount of weeks. You will find for a lot of us, 6 months to a year is all we need to do in terms of the weight loss process. I mean, for most of us, that's been that's the pandemic. It seems like it's been forever, but it's really been like 3 or 4 months. What if we just took that time and concentrated on weight loss? So point number one that I want to really drive home here is that weight loss can be quick and easy, but the emotional barriers we put up to get to that point is where a lot of the heavy lifting is done. And so that's going to be point number two is I'm going to implore you, literally through hopefully the power of the Holy Spirit, to make this as least emotional as possible when it comes to the idea of the feeling or the belief that you're giving up something. Because A, you're temporarily pressing pause on patterns and habits that are destroying you. But B, you're also not starving yourself. A lot of us have eaten in a way that has caused us to gain weight, and we look at that like it's been normal. But that never should have been normal. So when it comes to the concept of the animalistic brain that sends out impulses of, oh my gosh, I'm starving, I'm not eating enough, you've got to look at it through the lens of, but I've been overeating for how many years? And so if you can genuinely look at it unbiasedly and say, I'm not giving up these foods forever. I'm pressing pause for a moment because I've had a lot of those earlier on and now I've just got to balance it. But I'm not going to be starved. I'm simply going to a nutrition plan that supports weight loss, knowing that as soon as the weight loss is done, you pivot to weight maintenance. And it's an entirely different story. And a lot of the foods that got us here can be reintroduced in moderation, but what will be different is you'll have a much healthier view of those foods. So point number one is that this doesn't have to be a lifelong journey. If you just concentrate the effort and knock it out, it's way faster than you think. But point number two is how much of that are you going to block by getting so emotionally tied to the belief of that you're giving up something that you don't focus on all that you're going to gain. And for me, subconsciously, that's why I wanted to ask the question, what's one thing you know now that you didn't know then? Because if I knew how much better the quality of my life would be now, I would have started my journey earlier. Actually, in fact, I wouldn't have even taken the steps to gain the weight back, so I had to lose it the second time. But we can't undo the past. But we can control the present. And this is why I love the power of Joel right here, and especially the concept of restoration. Because I feel that so many of us have been in this place where this has been our struggle and it's become our identity, that we can't even conceive what it looks like to have a, air quotations, normal life. But one of the most amazing things that I get to experience, and I know you guys have experienced this to some degree as well, is the victories along the way. So when I get to talk to people one-on-one, there are so many non-scale victories. One of my clients is so excited because she no longer waddles like a starfish, she can walk. And this isn't me joking, but like when you get large, and you may have known this if you have been large, Like your biomechanics change and your knees don't bend as well as they could because you've got excess you. And so just to have motor walking patterns restored is Joel 225, 26 coming to life. She lost 70 pounds, so now she can walk normally. Restoration. And then another client of mine no longer has to do that thing where you take one step at a time sideways. She can just walk upstairs normally because the balance and the proprioception has returned because she's not a weeble wobble anymore. Again, there were years of her life where she couldn't walk normally because of weight that have been restored due to weight loss. And we were almost having a little bit of an argument because she was talking about how she didn't feel like she was moving fast enough because she only lost, what was it? So she lost about 42 pounds in 4.5 months, which means she's on point to lose 50 pounds in 6 months, which double that. She's on point to lose 100 pounds in a year, which is phenomenal. But think about it. 6 months of your life of concentrated effort to get the ability to walk appropriately back, to not have back pain anymore, to not have to have a second seat belt when you go on an airplane, to not have to buy a second seat when you're on an airplane. There's so much that we forget that is so typical in life that we give up when we struggle, that we always seem to forget that whenever we look at, oh man, I got to give up cheeseburgers for 6 months. Like, yeah, maybe, but you're also going to gain the ability to sit in a booth. So maybe we can press pause on red meat for a couple months to know that when you go into Haas's, you can sit anywhere you want and not have to sit at the table because you know that a booth is going to fit you or isn't going to fit you. And that's why I love how it ends. The God who has worked wonders in you, never again will my people be shamed. The esteem that comes from not just losing weight, but knowing that you've done it in the most appropriate fashion is something it's hard to put words to. But whenever I talk about why the journey is so much more important than the destination, I feel like this is it quantified. Because all the guilt and shame and self-loathing that used to happen when I lived in an obese lifestyle is gone. All of the judgment and anxiety when it comes to food and nutrition, gone. It's been restored. And I feel like when you go on the journey, God speaks to you and God leads you in certain ways that are specific and unique to you, myself included, and you learn things about yourself and the God who loves you that you never would have learned elsewise, because the amount of genuine active faith it takes to be consistent. And part of the non-scale reward in all that is the obliteration of any guilt or shame or condemnation. And I think that's why I'm so fervent about, I hate to say forcing it upon you, but forcing it upon you, the concepts of the fruit of the Spirit. Because if we're doing this with a heart of worship, we shouldn't feel the guilt or the shame or the frustration or the anxiety. Because if we are, then we're not doing it for the appropriate reasons. We've slipped out of the mindset of this is an act of worship. And this is just all emotional. I'm going to pause the emotional and we're going to talk about statistics for a little bit. Because when someone has a heightened BMI, studies have shown that it decreases their life expectancy from anywhere between 5 to 20 years. Like, think about that. Like literally, by being overweight, there's the possibility of losing out on 25% of your life. I don't like math to begin with, as y'all saw originally, but I don't like that math at all. But as someone who statistically shouldn't have lived past 25, who's now rocking it at 39, my life has been restored. And I'm in better health now than I've ever been. And the thing is, and I will say this until the day I die, I'm not special. We all are, and everything I've done, you can do too. And so it blows me away quite often when we put ourselves in this circle. I call it the apple spinning wheel of color, because we just get stuck and we just keep getting stuck in old patterns and old ways. And we keep going back as if the past has the solution. The past, that we can learn a lot from the past. But to solve our issues now, it takes a new identity, 2 Corinthians 5:17. And once you embrace that identity of asking yourself, how would a healthy Christian approach things? Well, a healthy Christian would approach things in the mentality of, I can't go from sinner to saint in one day. I can't read all 66 books or the Apocrypha overnight if you want extra credit or if you're Catholic. But through the grace of God, we're covered for eternity, and the rest of our life is a redemption process. If we take that mentality into the weight loss aspect, you don't have to binge and purge. You don't have to go outside and kill it for 3 miles today with your run. All I'm asking you, and to be honest, all science is asking you, is to do more today to be better than you were yesterday. And then tomorrow, just be a little bit better. So if you did 5,000 steps today, go for 5,010 tomorrow. Or 5,002, because it's still progress. And once you can understand, honestly, how short of a time span actual weight loss should take, my hope and my genuine imploration is that it will absolutely motivate you to go, holy crap, if I just paid attention for the next 6 months, I could be done with this. And then the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of my life, I just got to maintain. Like, how much easier would your life be if you didn't struggle with this? And more importantly, think of all the things that will be restored to you. And so that was the third thing. So the first imploration is to do the math. 1 to 2.5 pounds a week. How long should this actually scientifically take you? 2, drop the emotional strongholds. It might be easier said than done, but you know what? God. I mean, a lot of us have gone through a lot of tragedies. That's the reality. Y'all know I lost half my family. Some of us have been abused. Some of us have had horrific scenarios that have happened that have driven us to food. Some of us had terrible spouses, everywhere in between. But we've gotten through that. And if we can get through those things, then getting through a little bit of concentrated effort to have improved health and wellness and body image, through the grace of God, through the power of God, through the strength of God, is a lot easier than it would seem. But you genuinely have to acknowledge that it's okay. You have more than enough food. You're not going to go hungry. And if it seems like you're eating not enough, ask yourself, A, is it in context of what I was eating before? Because yeah, you're going to eat less to lose weight than you did to gain. Math. But 2, if you're under eating, the journal will show you. If you're consistently having 900 calories, then you need to eat more. But you never know if you're not paying attention. So not just how short should the time actually be, but how present do you need to be during that time? Because the things you'll learn by being present will serve you the rest of your life. And then the third thing I'd love for you to consider is, what will you do with all that added time and, for some of us, money? I have this conversation when I work with CEOs. You know, a lot of CEOs are at risk for heart attacks, and they're still in their 50s, which means they've still got a good 10 to 15 years of earning power left, which means that, you know, when you get to your 50s or 60s, you're typically at the higher end of your pay spectrum. And if you're, let's just say you're a CEO and you're making $100,000 a year, if you have a heart attack and you lose 10 years off of your life because you didn't have good habits, that's like $1 million heart attack. Would you pay $1 million to have a heart attack? That's not good math. But when you not only have those extra years of your life, think about the intangibles. That's revenue that you get to keep that you're not losing out on, but the quality within those years. So the third thing that I'd love for you to consider is cast some vision. What does quality of life look like without this weight? What does it look financially? How much money are you saving by maybe limiting your medications, maybe not being on medications? For me, my chiropractic bill has gone way down. Like I was in the hundreds of dollars a month, and now I'm at like $40 every 3 months. So the amount of hundreds of dollars I'm saving on a yearly basis in chiropractic visits because I've added stretching into my routine and I lost the weight. I mean, multiply that for the rest of my life. Like it's basically like I'm paying myself to lose weight and stretch. That's some good math. I like that. So cast vision. What does a life of freedom actually look like for you? And this is where we get to pull it all together. Because in the college equation, if someone said to you, hey, if you give me 4 years at minimum wage, I will give you 60 years at like $100,000 a year. You'd be like, huh, that's some good math. I like that math. It's the same thing here. What does 6 months to a year of concentrated effort look like? For literally the rest of your life of possibilities. And not just the added physical years that you get by removing some of these morbidities that obesity makes us susceptible to. But what does the quality of life look like? Walking into Target or Walmart knowing that anything can fit. You just got to find the appropriate size. Walking into a restaurant knowing you can sit in a booth. I took pictures of it. I didn't share it because unfortunately it was not a flattering shot because you see a lot of my lower half, which means right anyways. But last weekend I got to go to an amusement park and I took a picture of my stomach not going over top of the bar. Like here we are 15 years later and it's a non-scale victory for me to go back to the place that I used to work at when I was a kid with my kids, knowing that I could ride any ride that I wanted. Mind you, I can't ride half of them because I'm old and getting dizzy, does not go well, but I could because the bar fits. And that is such a great feeling to not sit and watch life pass me by because my size keeps me from it. And I never would have had that like that amount of restoration in my life was unfathomable in the journey. But being able to zoom out and go, holy snap, the fact that I can go to any amusement park and not worry about being kicked out of it like I did 20 years ago. Freedom, grace, restoration. So to recap, 3 things that will not just set you free, but will also add years plus quality to those years. 1, knock it out. Just get it done. It doesn't need to be a lifelong battle. We've made it a lifelong battle because there's certain things we don't want to give up. We're not giving up life forever. We're not giving up ho-hos or cookies forever. We're just pausing them now so we can get to a place mentally and emotionally so we can reintroduce. By the way, I can help you with that when we get there because weight maintenance is awesome. So it's not like I'm just going to leave you. It's not like just Jeremy's giving you weight loss advice and then he's gone forever. No, when you get to weight maintenance, we can have that conversation all day long too. But you have to get there first. So point number 1 of this, do the math, learn just how quick of a process it can be. Then 2, seize that. Acknowledge that you're not giving it up forever. You're not going into this barren land of, I don't know what to do. You know what to do. You just need to do it consistently. But you need to detach the emotion that you've attached to the food and the lifestyle that you have or had that got you here. And you need to hitch that emotion to the 2 Corinthians 5:17 new identity. You need to live in that place of getting a well done, good and faithful servant. Because I guarantee you, and I know you felt this, walking in the Spirit feels way better than anything tastes. Y'all know that. That's where they get it wrong. People say nothing tastes as good as thin feels. That's a misnomer. I've been thin. There's a lot of things that taste better than thin. But walking in the Spirit, knowing that you're doing what you should be doing as a steward with your health, there's no refined sugar that's worth that for me. And I know you know that as well, because I know you all have felt the Spirit. So live in that place. No food can get you that same high. And the third thing is start to cast vision. Start to realize that there's all this possibility literally waiting for you once you put down the things that you've held to that you no longer need. And so, as we discussed a couple sessions ago, sessions, weeks, sermons, however you want to quantify it, be present with what is good. Because the little voice in your head will start going, oh, but you can't have cookies for 6 months. Jeremy's a jerk. He's taking cookies away from you. No, Jeremy's saying that a multitude of cookies got us here. Let's press pause for a minute and let's really dig into what the God of creation has for us in terms of the quality of life, and let's focus on that. And then we bring the cookies back. But let's focus on the good. Let's stay present in the vision of what's possible. And more importantly, let's seek to make every day better than it was yesterday. Always seek progress. I will never ask you for perfection, and anyone who's trying to ask you for perfection, well, they've got an interpretation of the Bible that I just don't know exists, because I've never seen God say, you need to be perfect for me. No, God's asked you to be present for him and let he and Jesus do the rest, as well as the Spirit to be indwelled. So if you focus on these three things, I don't want to say I guarantee, but the Lord of God can make some guarantees. And via Joel 2:25 and 26, there's going to be some restoration that happens. And I pray that for your lives, because I've seen it in mine, and it's opened up so many possibilities. So I genuinely am going to pray for you right now that you do the math and realize how quick and simple this can be, and that you get out of your own way. And every time you step back into trying to take control of it, you give it up to God and you do what you know he's called you to do. You take the James mentality. You've got faith that God will help get you there, but you're still putting boots on the ground with the action that you're doing. And then just live in the vision. God's called you to do so much more than just live and pay taxes. He has. And you deserve that, because he died for us to give us freedom, not just in eternity, but between the trees. So